Hello, I am Daniel Klein, and I'm here to talk about the 4 customer gaps within 4 locations around the State College area. I want to start off by talking about the 4 gaps and how customer expectations and perceptions affect them. The customer gap is the difference between customer expectations and perceptions. Customer expectations are standards or reference points that customers bring into the service experience, whereas customer perceptions are subjective assessments of actual service experiences. Customer expectations often consist of what a customer believes should or will happen. For example, when you visit an expensive restaurant, you expect a high level of service, one that is considerably superior to the level you would expect in a fast food restaurant. Closing the gap between what a customer expects and what they perceive is critical to delivering quality service. The source of customer expectations are marketer-controlled factors such as price, advertising, and sales promises, as well as factors that the marketer has limited ability to affect, like innate personal needs, word-of-mouth communication, and competitive offerings. In a perfect world, expectations and perceptions would be identical. Customers would perceive that they have received what they thought they would and should. To close all the important customer gaps, the GAPS model suggests that 4 other gaps need to be closed. These gaps are called the provider gaps and consist of Gap 1, the listening gap; Gap 2, the service and standards gap; Gap 3, the service performance gap; and Gap 4, the communication gap. Today we'll be looking at 3 restaurants and 1 hotel located here in the State College area. I will be telling you about the provider gaps that I witnessed in these locations and present a possible solution to these gaps. So our first restaurant we're going to be looking at today is Fuji in Jade Garden. My friends and I walked into the restaurant to have lunch one day. I personally had never had a meal at this Chinese establishment. We walked through the front door and nobody is there to greet or seat us. We waited around for a couple of minutes before just taking it upon ourselves to seat ourselves. During this time, my zone of tolerance was narrowing. This is an example of provider gap 1. The problem that I saw was that managers and floor personnel were too focused on the transaction side of the business and they neglected to build a relationship with its customers. The solution that I offered up was to have employees put themselves in the customer's shoes. I would make my friends and I more comfortable if they had someone to greet and direct the guests to the proper tables. Do more customer research by taking customers to fill out a survey on their experience. For provider gap 2, the service design and standards gap was witnessed upon walking through the front door. When we pulled up, the parking lot was littered with empty bottles and other debris. Once we got inside, it was hard not to notice the fogginess of the windows and the dated furniture within. This is considered inappropriate physical evidence in servicescape or inadequate maintenance and updating of the servicescape. The solution that I offered up was to update the interior and exterior to better appeal to your customer base. For Gap 3, the service performance gap was experienced when it was time to order our meals. I couldn't make up my mind on what to order, so I went last. When it came around to my turn, I asked for steamed pork dumplings and a Coke. The waiter collects our menus and walks back to the kitchen. He explains to me that they are out of steamed dumplings and that the soda dispenser is malfunctioning. This could have been fixed by more communication between upper management and floor personnel. Getting to know your customer base volume would also be very helpful. It would be useful in combating peaks and valleys in demand. Gap 4 occurred when I usually order General Tso's chicken from a normal Chinese establishment. But on this day, I felt like venturing out and ordering something new. I decided to order the sesame chicken, which is basically the same concept as General Tso's chicken. When I order the General Tso's chicken, it usually comes out in little bite-sized chicken wings. Before I ordered, I asked our server whether the sesame chicken came with the same chicken as the General Tso's, and he responded with a yes. When I received my order, the chicken was almost like chicken tenders, and it was dark meat. A solution that I offered for this gap was to do more interactive marketing and don't overpromise in personal selling. Use better descriptions for the food and maybe implement a picture menu so nothing is a surprise when it comes out. Matching advertisement or including a disclaimer that the products delivered may be different than the advertisement can help close gap 4. The next business that we're going to look at today is Quaker Steak and Lube. So my friends and I went to Quaker Steak and Lube for wing night. When we arrived there were 3 females at the hostess station. My friends and I awkwardly stood there for several seconds while the females finished their non-work related conversation. Once the conversation stopped, the girls looked annoyed when I set a table for 6. No greeting of any sort. The problem here is that the workers are focused on money instead of relationships. Not focusing on service quality, and there are no type of service recovery in place. A solution to these matters could be more communication with upper management. I saw managers present, but never saw them interacting with employees. I also feel that this could be fixed by changing this restaurant's mindset in terms of making a relationship with your customers instead of looking at them like dollar signs. For Gap 2, the customer-driven service and standards gap was present at Quaker Steak and Lube. Quaker Steak offers its customers a wing night. In this wing night, it is all you can eat for $12. My friends and I noticed that for Quaker Steak to keep up with the volume of customers and number of wings, we believe on wing nights that they are sacrificing quantity over quality. The skin on the chicken is way less crispy compared to any night that's not wing night. The team also struggled to keep up with having enough wings in the buffet line. There was a lack of process management to focus on customer requirements. A possible solution to this matter is don't sacrifice quantity for quality. Don't cheat your customers. Hire a low-wage chef who's strictly there to keep up with the wing demand. Do more research on customer-defined service standards and implement them into your service. For Gap 3, the performance gap, so this was my first time going to wing night, so I did not know how it really all worked. When the waitress came over, she sort of just assumed that we were there for a wing night. Didn't give us any type of directions on a rundown on how that specific night worked. After I'm already full, I said to my buddies that I didn't see any honey mustard, which is my favorite flavor. My friends proceeded to tell me that I could have ordered any wings off the menu that they didn't have in the buffet line. The problem here is that the customer, and in this case myself, is lacking the knowledge of my roles and responsibilities. A possible solution to this would be to give the customer a rundown on how special nights work, or have some type of sign letting the customers know how it all works. Gap 4, the service delivery and external communications. The ads you see for Quaker's Wing Night claims to have every wing the menu has to offer, but in reality, they only have a select few flavors. If you want the other flavors, you have to flag down your waiter and request these flavors, which requires time. The problem that is present is overpromising in advertisement and inadequate horizontal communications between front of house and the marketing team. Get your marketing team in line with your kitchen staff and make sure you're marketing the right information to your guests. Coordinate actual service delivery with external communications. The next company that we're going to be looking at, which is a non-restaurant, it's just a hotel, is the Penn Stater Hotel and Conference Center. As a former front desk agent at the Penn Stater, I personally have experienced many gaps in their service marketing attempts. I went to the Penn Stater to meet my parents who were staying there for a football game that Saturday. I experienced Gap 1 when my parents, my baby cousin, and I were all staying at the Penn Stater for a football game weekend. As a former employee, I made the reservation for my parents on one of my shifts. My mom had told me to make sure I request a playpen for my baby cousin to sleep in. I put that request in the notes of the reservation. When it came time to check in that weekend, my former manager had told me that they had run out of these playpens. We proceeded to check in and try and rub that off. But I saw one of my friends who worked in housekeeping. I asked him to take a second look and see if they had any left. Sure enough, they had a bunch left from the Nittany Lion, but there was a failure of communication between departments. The problem is insufficient customer research because they knew it was a game day weekend and that many families stay with our hotel on these type of weekends. A solution could consist of better communication between contact employees and managers. Frontline employees often know a great deal about their customers, so to get managers more involved with everyday interactions with guests and do more customer research. I didn't see any of Gap 2 present within the hotel. Gap 2, the servicescape at this hotel is outstanding. The roaring fireplace in the main lobby really gives its guests a homey feeling. As an employee, I personally witnessed management change up the furniture and the design of it at least 3 times. Customers would come up and make suggestions on new types of furniture they would like to see implemented, and the design and setup for the furniture. I feel that they did an excellent job at meeting customer and employee needs based on Servicescape. The employee turnover rate in any hospitality industry is higher than that of other sectors. I feel that the Penn Stater had major deficiencies in human resource policies, like ineffective recruitment, which leads to customer gap 3. Since most of Penn Stater's workers are students, we constantly had people leaving and joining our team. The management on the hotel side would hire some students that couldn't even look at the guests in the eyes when having a conversation, or couldn't keep up a conversation to make a guest feel more welcome. The hotel basically just panicked when it came to the hiring process and would hire some people that clearly were not the right fit for the front desk position. A possible solution to this gap would be to have some type of pre-interviewing process where the prospective candidate would take some type of personality test to see if their personality is a good fit for the position of a front desk agent. One of the problems with the hotel's hiring process is that they make front of the house managers do the hiring process, where these managers have numerous other things to attend to. A solution to this would be to bring in some type of talent acquisition team where their main focus would be bring in the right personnel for the specific job. Gap 4 is present when the Penn Stater overpromises on some of the amenities they provide. On their website, they state that they offer a quick and easy shuttle service to its guests. As a former employee, I know that's not the case. The hotel has 2 shuttle vans that fit 7 people, including the driver. On normal weekends, it's a pretty smooth process to get a shuttle van to take you downtown. But on game day weekends, or when conventions are taking place, it's a different story. I can remember on many occasions where we had almost an hour-and-a-half wait to request a shuttle. A solution could be, don't make quick and easy shuttle access on the homepage of your website. Borrow a van from campus's fleet building, or on busy weekends so we aren't overpromising something to our guests. So the next company that we're going to look at is Chipotle Mexican Grill, specifically the State College one. So Gap 1. So the State College Chipotle focuses too much on the transaction side rather than the relationship with its guests. When I go to a Chipotle, there is always a pretty substantial line. The employees that are working the line are the least friendly and customer-oriented people I have dealt with in a quick service restaurant. They push you out through as fast as they can, and when you request something out of the norm, they roll their eyes or give you some type of attitude. When you get to the person that will check you out, you're met with some angry-looking person that says, cash or credit, not have a wonderful day or enjoy your meal. They simply look at customers as money signs. I believe if management increased direct interaction between managers and customers to see what the customer thinks of their experience at the restaurant. Focus on maintaining a relationship with your guests, and that will in return make the customer want to come back to your specific restaurant. Gap 2. The ambient conditions of Chipotle Servicescape could use some work. The Chipotle downtown has a separate seating area in an enclosed room. The one day I decided to sit there and try and enjoy my meal, but I couldn't get over the awful musty smell. Someone must have forgotten to change the garbage in there. In this enclosed room, the walls are windows that look out into the street. These windows were very drafty and caused the room to be much colder than the rest of the main room. This caused me to hurry and eat so I wasn't cold anymore and to get away from the awful smell. A possible solution would be if management could close this gap in their service by simply assigning an employee to be in charge of maintaining the front of the house and make sure the servicescape is up to standards with management and its guests. Gap 3. I believe the State College Chipotle struggles to control quality and consistency. When I go to get lunch at Chipotle, I expect there to be a pretty decent line, but I don't expect the food I order to be below par just because they have a high volume of customers. When I get Chipotle in my hometown, it's almost always consistently up to my standards. When I get food from State College Chipotle, it tends to be below their standards. Whether it's the burrito is stale, broken, or not enough fillings, there's always seems to be something unordinary about my food. To resolve this issue, make sure that all employees are going about the task the same way. Make sure your frontline employees know the proper portions, how to roll a burrito, and know what costs extra and what not. This gap can be closed by simply working as a team and providing the proper training to new and old employees and making sure everyone is on the same page. Gap 4 was present when State College Chipotle struggles with Gap 4 in terms of differences in policies and procedures across branches or units. I've been to numerous Chipotles in many different states, but State College's Chipotle sticks out to me from being different from the rest. I've never had the feeling of being unwanted or hurried in my ordering process at Chipotle, but here it seems like that every time I order. In my hometown, when I ask, do I want brown or white rice, I usually say, I'll take a scoop of both. In other locations, the employee doesn't think twice about giving me a scoop of both at no extra charge. When I ask for that here, they tell me it will be extra charge or that they don't do that here. I also feel that the State College Chipotle doesn't adhere to the same policies as others when it comes to greeting the customers. To resolve this, try transmitting information across functional boundaries in an organization to align all functions with customer expectations. Hire a regional manager that is responsible for addressing these issues and will make sure all locations are providing the same type of customer care. Throughout this whole project, we observed the customer gap. We observed the customer gap and provided gaps in different business segments. As doing this project, we understand the materials on the gap model better. We understand how to apply this knowledge in real life as well. In this project, we gave suggestions to the businesses that we visited so that the businesses can develop and close the provider gaps. When the provider gaps are closed, the businesses can offer better services to their customers and guests. Thank you for listening today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.